It was a quiet Saturday morning in the heart of a small town. The sun peeked through the cafe windows, casting soft light across wooden tables and warm mugs of coffee. The place smelled of fresh pastries and cinnamon, with the soft hum of music playing in the background. Locals chatted about weekend plans and kids' soccer games. It felt safe, familiar. In the corner booth, Marcus and Emily sat close together, sharing a plate of pancakes and laughing at an inside joke. He reached over to wipe syrup from her chin, and she grinned at him like he was the only person in the world. Their different skin tones didn't matter here. To them, love was just love. They had come to this cafe many times before. It was their spot. The waitress knew their order before they even spoke. A large coffee with cream for him, chai, tea for her, blueberry pancakes to share. People walked past their table, offering the occasional polite smile. It was just another normal morning, or at least it started that way. Neither of them knew that today, something ugly would break the peace, and it would come from a face that looked far too familiar. The cafe door swung open, letting in a gust of cool air and the sharp click of heels. A woman in her late 50s entered, her blonde hair pulled tightly into a bun and her purse tucked firmly under her arm. She wore a crisp white blouse and a sour expression. Her name was Karen, though no one said it out loud. She walked straight to the counter, ordered a black coffee with extra sugar, then scanned the room for a seat. Her eyes landed on the table near Marcus and Emily. Her lips tightened. With a heavy sigh, she sat 2 tables away and placed her bag down with a thud. At first, she didn't say much, but her glances, long disapproving stares, spoke volumes. She watched Marcus and Emily like they didn't belong. As Emily leaned over to kiss Marcus on the cheek, Karen shook her head and muttered, "Some people have no shame these days." Emily heard it but tried to ignore it. Marcus just gave her hand a light squeeze, his way of saying, "Let it go." But Karen didn't stop. She shifted in her seat and spoke louder. "This used to be a nice place. Family-friendly, traditional, other." Customers began to glance over, sensing tension. Karen flagged down a young barista. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp. "I don't feel comfortable sitting near that display." She didn't point, but everyone knew what she meant. The barista froze, unsure how to respond. Emily's face flushed. Marcus's jaw tightened. A few people turned away awkwardly, pretending not to hear. Others pulled out their phones, sensing something was about to happen. Karen crossed her arms and added, "There's a time and place for that kind of thing. Not here. Not around children." Marcus slowly stood up, but Emily pulled gently on his arm. "Please," she whispered. He sat back down, calm but boiling. The peaceful cafe was no longer peaceful, and Karen, she wasn't done yet. The silence in the cafe was sharp now, uncomfortable and stretching. Coffee cups paused mid-sip. Conversations died out. All eyes turned toward Karen, who now stood beside her table, arms folded, eyes locked on Marcus and Emily. "I just think it's inappropriate," Karen said, her voice rising. "People should have some respect for decency." Emily blinked, stunned. "We're just having breakfast," she said quietly, trying to stay calm. Karen laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. "Breakfast? No, sweetie, you're making a statement, and not everyone wants to see it." Marcus leaned forward. His voice was low but steady. "What statement are we making exactly?" Karen's face hardened. "You know exactly what I mean. You think you're being modern or bold, but you're just showing off. Some people actually care about values, about culture, about tradition." Emily's hands trembled in her lap. "This is our tradition," she said softly. "Loving each other." Karen scoffed. "Don't play victim. I'm just saying what other people are thinking. This isn't normal. The young barista stepped forward, clearly nervous. Ma'am, maybe you could lower your voice. Karen spun on her. Excuse me, I'm the one being harassed here. I have every right to feel safe in public. Marcus stood. This time, Emily didn't stop him. You feel unsafe because we're sitting here. Together? He asked. Karen's eyes flashed. I feel unsafe because people like you are forcing your agenda down everyone's throat. A man at a nearby table started filming. A woman near the window muttered, Unbelievable. Karen pointed at Marcus. This is what happens when people stop caring about morals. This is why the world is falling apart. You people always play the race card when someone tells the truth. You people? Marcus repeated, his voice dangerously calm. Emily's face crumbled. She looked like she might cry. Then came the last straw. Karen walked over and picked up their table napkin holder, slamming it down. Maybe you should go eat somewhere that supports. That kind of thing. The whole room gasped. Someone whispered, She's gone too far. Emily buried her face in her hands. Marcus looked down, breathing hard through his nose. The room was still. That's when a voice came from the back, quiet but firm. That's enough, Karen. Everyone turned. An older woman, dressed simply in a blue cardigan and scarf, stood from her table near the corner. She had been sitting alone with a book and a cup of tea, unnoticed until now. Karen froze. Her mouth opened slightly. I don't know you. Yes, you do, the woman said, walking slowly toward her. Maybe not by this name, but I know exactly who you are. The room leaned in. For a moment, no one moved. A storm was coming, but not the one Karen expected. The woman moved closer, each step steady, but heavy with something deeper, something personal. She stood in front of Karen, her eyes calm but unflinching. You used to be called Kayla, she said softly. Kayla Thompson. Don't you remember? Karen's eyes widened. That's not my name. Yes, it was, the woman replied. I would know. I used to babysit you when you were little. The room was silent. Karen's mouth opened like she wanted to speak, but no words came out. You were taken in by the Harrisons, the woman continued. A kind family. Mr. Harrison was a black man who worked at the post office. Mrs. Harrison made the best peach cobbler I've ever had. They raised you like you were their own daughter. That's not true, Karen snapped. I don't know what you're talking about, but her voice cracked. You were 7 when your birth parents left. The woman said, her voice still, gentle. You were scared, confused, and the Harrisons gave you love, real love. They gave you everything. I moved away, Karen stammered. That was a long time ago. You didn't just move, the woman said. You ran. You changed your name. You stopped answering letters. Your mother, we called her Mama J. She passed away last year. She kept a photo of you in her Bible. Karen looked away. Her face was pale now, her lips pressed tight. She waited for you, the woman whispered. She thought maybe one day you'd come back, that maybe the little girl she raised would remember who she really was. The cafe was frozen. No one sipped coffee. No one spoke. The woman turned to the room now, her voice rising just a little. This woman was once a child who was loved by a black family. She was hugged, fed, taught to be kind. She knew what acceptance felt like. Karen stood trembling, arms at her sides. What happened to you? The woman asked. What made you trade love for hate? What made you hide from your own story? Karen's lips moved, but no sound came. You shame this couple, the woman continued, motioning to Marcus and Emily. But you shame yourself even more. Karen suddenly turned, grabbed her purse, and stumbled toward the door. Her coffee spilled behind her. She pushed through the exit without a word, and just like that, she was gone. The cafe remained still for several seconds more, until a quiet sniffle broke the silence. Emily wiped her eyes. Marcus took a deep breath, his shoulders loosening. The older woman walked over and placed a gentle hand on Emily's back. "I'm sorry you had to see that," she said. "Some people forget who they are. Or they try to. But truth always finds its way out." The room slowly came back to life, but something had changed. The moment wasn't just about hate anymore. It was about memory and healing. The older woman, Mrs. Thompson, sat down gently across from Marcus and Emily. The cafe staff brought over a glass of water, but she didn't touch it. Her eyes stayed soft, but her voice carried the weight of memory. Her name was Kayla, before she changed it. She said, almost to herself. Everyone in our neighborhood knew her story. When her birth parents left, it broke her. But the Harrisons, especially Mama J, put her back together. Marcus listened, his face unreadable. Emily gripped his hand, her eyes still red from crying. Mama J never treated her any different. Mrs. Thompson continued. She braided her hair, made her school lunches, helped her with homework. Every night she'd say, "You are loved. You are ours." A few people in the cafe leaned closer, still listening, but something happened. When Kayla turned 17, Mrs. Thompson said, she started hanging around a new group at school. Kids who made fun of her family. They told her she didn't belong with them, that she'd never be one of them. If she stayed with those people, her voice grew more sorrowful. By 20, she'd moved across the state, cut off all contact, and started using her middle name, Karen. She told people her parents had died, that she'd grown up in a normal family. Emily covered her mouth in shock. And Mama J, Mrs. Thompson continued, her eyes shining. She wrote letters every birthday, sent care packages, never missed Christmas, but nothing ever came back. She looked down at her hands. The last time I saw Mama J, she was in hospice. She had a photo of Kayla on her nightstand, a little girl with honey-colored hair and a big smile, hugging her black mama. Mama J kept whispering, "She's still mine. I know she's still mine." Marcus blinked hard. He didn't want to cry in front of strangers, but his chest hurt. Mrs. Thompson looked up again. So today, when I saw her spewing that hate, pretending like she's always been that way, I couldn't stay quiet. That wasn't just racism. That was shame trying to cover its tracks. The cafe remained hushed. Even the baristas behind the counter were motionless. She wasn't born hateful, Mrs. Thompson added. She learned to wear hate like armor, because she was afraid of being rejected for the truth of who she really was. A few people in the room nodded slowly, as if pieces were falling into place. Love raised her, she finished, but she ran from it. And now, she carries a hole no cruelty can ever fill. No one spoke. For once, silence said more than words ever could. Then the cafe owner stepped forward quietly, placing 2 fresh cups of coffee in front of Marcus and Emily. "It's on the house," he said, "for your strength and your patience." Emily smiled faintly. Marcus gave a soft nod. They didn't need to say anything. The moment had already spoken for them. The cafe slowly returned to its rhythm. Mugs clinked, chairs shifted, but the mood stayed hushed, thoughtful. The hum of the espresso machine returned, but softer somehow, like even the machines knew something heavy had passed through the room. Marcus sat back down, finally letting his body relax. Emily leaned into him, her head resting gently on his shoulder. Her fingers still trembled slightly, but her breathing had slowed. There was no need to speak between them. They both understood what had just happened. Mrs. Thompson sat nearby, sipping her now cold tea. She didn't need thanks. She hadn't stepped in for applause. She had simply told the truth. Someone near the window whispered, "I had no idea." Another voice replied, "People carry things you'd never guess." Outside the window, Karen, or Kayla, was nowhere in sight. She had disappeared down the street. Her past caught up with her at last. No one cheered. No one shouted. There was no dramatic ending, just a heavy, aching silence. The barista brought a slice of warm apple pie to the couple's table. "From all of us," she said. "And I'm sorry for everything you had to deal with." Marcus looked up at her and smiled, tired but thankful. "Thank you," he said. "Really." Mrs. Thompson stood up to leave. Before she went, she placed a hand gently on Emily's shoulder. "You two hold on to each other," she said. "Don't let anyone tell you your love doesn't belong." Emily nodded, tears welling again, but this time for a different reason. The woman walked out, disappearing as quietly as she had arrived. Outside, the sun had moved higher in the sky. The world kept turning, but inside that little cafe, something had shifted. Hearts, eyes, maybe even a few minds. The cafe eventually returned to normal, but no one who was there that day would forget what they saw or what they heard. Hate had walked in, wearing fear like armor, but truth walked in quietly and undid it, piece by piece. The narrator closes. Sometimes people bury their past because they're afraid of how others will see them. But shame never hides the truth for long. And hate is just a shadow. Where love once lived, it's not strength, it's pain. Then she pauses, her voice soft but steady. But love doesn't shout, it just holds on, and it stays. If this story moved you or made you think, don't forget to like the video. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. And if you believe in the power of truth and compassion, subscribe for more real stories that uncover what's hidden and speak to the heart.